Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome back, episode 75 of the Hebrew Congregation of Houston. So I was just telling Rabbi Avshalom, because he's over in Africa right now, that I had a rough little morning here because as I went, oh, here comes Jerry too. Praise God. Praise Yahweh. So as I was going to get my hair done yesterday, I had went and bought my little weave and was going on the way to Coco's house. When I got there, she wasn't feeling good, her and her baby. So I said, that's fine. I'll go home and do my own hair and come back next week. So, you know, I'll do this together. But then Minister Griff, who was supposed to preach today and teach today, he calls me and say, hey, I had an engagement and I'm sorry, I can't, you know, preach tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, it's late. I don't have my hair done. And so I said, God, I need your help here. And so even though I'm the hostess for the mostest, God will always equip you. He had given me a message of Pharaoh last Saturday when we were talking about Pharaoh, but I didn't know I was going to have to deliver it today. So then anyway, make a long story short, when I turned on, Rabbi was able to get on. Praise Yahweh. So him and his wife, they're over in Africa and they're in their hotel and they were able to get on. And then my husband, Jerry's on, but I wasn't going to be alone anyway, because Yeshua and Yahweh are always with me, right? So anyway, my mother used to say, don't one monkey stop no show. And so the show must go on. And so I'm going to be delivering the message today. And she always said there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? And so we're going to start with our Parsha. So the Parsha was Genesis 44 through 47 up to verse 27. And the new Parsha is Genesis 47 verse 28 up to 50, chapter 50 and 26, verse 26. So you can might as well say Genesis 47, chapter 47 through 50 up to verse 26. Okay. So my topic today is going to be who is Pharaoh? So a lot of people think like Pharaoh was just this one person. No, Pharaoh was ended up being a title. It's not a name, it's a title. And there was 170 pharaohs to be exact, okay? So let's talk about this thing called Pharaoh. So Pharaoh name means its original name was a name, but later became a title for the Egyptian king, okay? It was an Anglo-Saxon tribe of Britain. And like I said, there was 170 pharaohs and 5 of them were women. So there were 5 female pharaohs. So who was the first pharaoh? Which is funny. And I keep telling you all, we're from what? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're the bloodline of Shem. And so back in the days, this was black on black crimes. This wasn't any Caucasian, and I'm not being racist. I'm not doing this, that. I'm going by the truth. So let's talk about the first pharaoh. The first pharaoh was Namer, Mens, M-E-N-E-S. Okay, his name was also known as Mens, and N-A-R-M-E-R. You can look this up. He ruled from 3150 BC. Okay, he was the first pharaoh. And he united the upper and the lower Egypt. And he was called the Lords of Two Lands, okay? He was a black man. He was a brown man, whatever you want to call him. He looked like me, all right? Griff gave the maps, and he also gave the statue where they knocked the nose off the statue. Why? Because it was a wide nose. It was a statue of them. He had characteristics like I do, the wide nose, the cheekbones and everything, okay? And so they call, and anyone can comment if you want to unmute yourself and talk and come in at any time. They called the Pharaoh what? The God on earth. That's what they were calling him. Okay, he was supposed to be this intermediary between God and the people. which is a lie. We know that to be a lie, right? We know Yahshua is that. And he was called the living son. And it was also, Pharaoh's name was the great house. All right. So I'm doing history and taking you back. Okay. So the last Pharaoh, who was what? Who was Cleopatra. So the first Pharaoh was Namer, and the last one was Cleopatra, was a woman. Okay. And this ended August 30, 30 BC. And she committed suicide. So Cleopatra, she committed suicide by a poisonous snake. They said that she had this poisonous snake bite her because she didn't want to be ruled under anybody. She was the age of 39, and they said she was Greek. But there was evidence that she was dark also. And then when you go in the books to try to look it up, what they say, well, there's really no record. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, then why don't you just say what her skin tone was and who she really is? Okay, it always goes back to, well, what does it matter? Well, it matters because our children need to see who was represented. Our children need to know that these are our people in the Bible. Our children need to know that this was black on black crime at the beginning. The only white on white crime who killed was Hitler. Okay, and they're getting their reparations. So it does matter. Okay, so we are under the covenant. We're under the covenant of the promises of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. You know, we are under that covenant. Abraham was the father of the nations, right? And so I went back to where Griff was talking about the maps. So Canaan, it encompasses Israel and the West Bank of Gaza and Jordan. And that's where all this fighting is going on, right? And so the last Parsha, we talked about Jacob and his 12 sons who lived in Canaan. And so we know Jacob's name was even changed to Israel. The Lord changed Jacob's name to Israel, all right? And so let's get into the meat of this on what our Parsha is. And so it says the famine hit, and so they were starving at the time. And so 70 of them went over into Egypt. So that's how we were brought into Egypt, because the famine had hit. Remember, they had sold one of the brothers, Joseph, into slavery. So he ended up being the right-hand man of Pharaoh. And we think of all the pharaohs being bad, but no, some of them was good. That one was a good one, remember? Because he welcomed them in. He gave them the land of Goshen. He gave them whatever they wanted, because he loved Joseph. Okay, so it wasn't always bad pharaohs, right? And let's talk about it. Pharaoh was like a donkey. You know, Yahshua, you even rolled in on the donkey, right? Because we needed him to keep us alive. Because if all that, the brothers hadn't sold Joseph and Pharaoh hadn't made him the right-hand man, we would have perished. But God, the promise was already there. So he was used as a donkey. Some of these people we think are so evil and so bad in the situation, but God made it for our good, so we wouldn't be destroyed. Okay, and some of the situations you in right now in your life, oh, this is happening to me and that happening to me, and I got fired and I got laid off. Some of that is set up for your good. We just can't see it right now. Okay, and so we're in Egypt now. Like I said, history it's repeating itself. It's repeated itself several times, right? Because even when Abraham was given Canaan, the famine hit then too. Let's talk about that. Okay. And so the promised land was the ancient Canaan. So the brothers had sold them, the famine had hit, they started to starve. And so Pharaoh was first mentioned in the Bible where? In Genesis 12 and 14. So Genesis 12 and 14, let's read that real quick. That's where he's first mentioned. That was way back in Abraham's time, right? I know it's confusing, but I have a point here. Because we've been lied to so long, and then we want to know who we are. Our history is right here. And then he says, well, I don't have my last name anymore because they took our they took our language, but we're right here. If that Deuteronomy curse is on you, your kids was stripped from your arms, your ancestors, and you had the curse on you and was a yoke around your neck, and you were sold into slavery, and you don't own anything, and your face is not on the money. That's your birth certificate right there, right? That's my birth certificate. That's all I needed to know. And I'm not blaming anybody because we brought this curse upon ourselves because we were stiff-necked people. Stiff-necked people didn't want to listen. So 12 and 14 is where Pharaoh's first mentioned in the Bible. Let's read that. So it was written, Abram came into Egypt, that the Egyptians saw the woman, that she was beautiful, which was Sarah, right? And this is talking about the story where Abraham lied and said Sarah was his sister because the famine had hit. He had to go over to Egypt. He lied and said Sarah was his sister because she was so beautiful and he didn't want to get killed. And so then the princes of Pharaoh also saw her and commended her to Pharaoh. That's where the name starts, right there. And the woman, but we know it was Pharaoh's prior to this, but that's where it starts here in the Bible. And then when woman was taken in Pharaoh's house, and then what? He started having plagues and things because he was sleeping with her. He's about to take her as his wife until he found out that was Abraham's wife, right? So Pharaoh goes way back in the Bible, okay? And so Abraham died. So I just told you that the first Pharaoh was what, between 31 and 50 BC. So Abraham died. He was born 2150 BC and he died 1975 BC. So I was telling you way back then, we were ruling. We were pharaohs, we were kings, we were priests. We was over the whole land. Stop playing with me. All we got to do is study and read this stuff, right? You can't hide history. I'm preaching now, I'm teaching now. My son, Minister Griffiths, my son, he got this honestly, right? Okay. And so Abraham was 175 years old when he died, okay? So Joseph dealt with 8 different pharaohs. So Joseph had favor. He went over there, he was sold, then the famine hit. He talked with his brothers, they got back reunited, and he dealt with 8 pharaohs and they welcomed him into the land of Goshen. And Minister Griff talked last week, it was 70. And when they got done, there was billions, millions and billions of people. And that's why the other pharaohs, as they went down the road, they said, hey, hold up, pump your brakes. It's getting to be too many of them. They're going to take over. Who does that sound like today? Trump. Hold up, wait a minute. Y'all letting the Mexicans in? Y'all, the African Americans ain't aborting their kids as much? At some point, they're going to take the election over. Do y'all not see it? It's the same thing today. That's what Trump been trying to tell them. That's why the insurrection went down, because they see it about to go down. History is repeating itself. We're multiplying. So then what they did was they got the Asians on their side. See, now they say, okay, hold up. That's why they were mad at Trump, because he kept saying the China virus, we need the Asians, because if we don't have them, we're definitely going to lose everything. So then they hurry up and came out with the Asian protection, right? Before they even come out with our George Floyd bill, they came out with the, it's history. I'm not lying, look it up. So now a lot of Asians are Republicans. And now they're messing with the voting rights because the Spanish people keep coming over here. We over here, and we're multiplying. We're going to take it over. And that's what they're afraid of. We'll be the majority, okay? And so it's history basically repeating itself. So what happened in the Bible? He said, hold up. These people are multiplying. We're going to enslave them. So they forgot about this pact between the other Pharaoh and Joseph and this other, and then that evil started setting in, right? But we keep saying it's evil, but we had to go back home. That had to happen. Sometimes you got to lose a job in order to get a better job, amen? Doors have to be closed, there's a process. and some of it has to be some people have to be the sacrifice. Unfortunately, they were sacrificed. They were enslaved. Okay. And so then we had Moses that came on the scene, right? The Exodus. So this Moses dealt with what? That Pharaoh Ramsey II. Okay. And the pharaohs they're mostly all about what? Political and religious leaders, right? And some were good and some were bad. So Ramsey II was known as the best pharaoh of them all, of all time. They call him the Great, right? Ramsey the Great. Yahweh the Great, Yahshua the Great. That's who the greatest is. But they want to, man, who is your pharaoh? Are you worshiping man? He ain't nothing but a donkey. Oh, this person gave me a job, or oh, this person gave me money, or oh, I got a stimulus check from this president, and they didn't do no more than what God allowed them to do. He rules all. He conquers all. You're not going to starve unless it's time for the famine to hit. And then God is going to supply. You got to know he's going to supply all your needs if you're in position. No one man has all that power. It's a song about that. I know Kanye, can't no one man have all that power. No, they can't have all that power. Yahweh, our God, is in control, okay? And so the Ramsey rule was 66 years. It doesn't surprise me with those double sixes, right? He ruled those 66 years. So that brings us to the Parsha now, okay? And so we're talking about Parsha, Genesis 44 through 47. And the Parsha is us all being on one accord, reading what is given to the Hebrew Israelites every week. So we're all on one page, on one accord, right? So read this. Our next one, I gave you our next one for next week is Genesis 47 to 50 through verse 26. So let's talk about 44, where Joseph put a cup in. He like kind of set him up, right? He put that cup in Benjamin's sack and act like somebody has stole his cup. So it talks about that because he's torn. And see, we talked about, they didn't even recognize their brother. So the Hebrew Israelites had what? Beards and long beards versus the Egyptians were clean shaved people. But they were all what? Black. What you want to call it? African American. What you want to call it? Negro. What you want to call it? Nigga. All these things we were given. The brown people, the people of melanin. What other title they gonna come up with? African American. The rabbi sitting over there on the continent of Africa, he over there now. How are we gonna be African American? Will we a whole continent? Come on now. All right, but I'm Easter keeping it real. Don't get my pressure up. I'm starting to get hot over here. Y'all know how I get, right? So we have to have common sense to know that you can't change our ethnicity 6 times, right? We didn't come from no fields in Mississippi. We didn't come from Alabama and all that. We are the Israelites. We are from Israel. We are the original Jews. It's written right here. We read about it all the time. These are our people, okay? And so that's why they're fighting over that land of Canaan, which is Israel. That's why they're all fighting over, because where it sits at. We were given that land a long time ago, okay? And so we're going back to it. We're going to take it back again, right? All right, so let's go into the Parsha. So then 44 talks about the cup, and then 45 reveals himself to his brothers. Let's go to that. So 45, 16 through 20. Genesis 45, 16 through 20. I'm gonna read that real quick. Now the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. So it pleased Pharaoh and his servants were well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your animals and depart and go to the land of Canaan. Bring your father in your household and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded to do this. Take carts out of the land for your little ones and your wives, and bring your father and come. Also, do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of the land in Egypt is yours. That sound like a mean man? No, sounds like a giving man to me. And so that's why I was saying all the pharaohs, and they always think it's just one person. It's not. It was 170 of them in history. So I don't want you to get that idea it was just this one pharaoh. No. And so we have good people, we have bad people that come our way, but it's always about a lesson to be learned. It's not what they do, it's how you respond, right? And so Joseph could have been bitter and mad at his brothers, saying, oh, y'all sold me into slavery. I'm gonna have your head. I'm gonna have your head. He didn't do that. He realized they set him up for failure, but God. But God. It was already ordained for those things to happen to him. And he had to respond in a way that he saved his people. Okay? He had already had the dreams. All right. So that was in up in 45. So let's go to 46. God speaks to Jacob, whose name is Israel, saying, go ahead and go to Egypt. He told him to go ahead and go. And 70 went in the land of Goshen, right? And then we go into 47. So that's the last part of our parashah. And it only takes what, 30 minutes to read this? So let's go to 47 and 11. It says, and Joseph situated his father and his brothers and gave them possession of the land of Egypt and the best of the land and in the land of Ramses. So it says it right here, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Then Joseph provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with bread according to the numbers of their family, right? So he set them up, right? And so Joseph was very smart and intelligent. So what Joseph did, because he knew the famine was coming and God had already given him the visions, was when it hit, he said, the people's like, oh, we're starving, we need this and that. He said, bring all your livestock. Because his brothers were good at what? Being shepherds. So they brought all the livestock to them. And then the next year, the famine hit again, because this famine was what, gonna go on for 7 years. God had already revealed them to him, right? And then he says, okay, now I want your land. I'm taking your land now. So then Pharaoh had all the land, right? And so that gave him favor, right? But Jacob realized what? That he had to go back home. He said, I'm not gonna be buried here. It was good here for a minute, but I want to be buried back home. So they took him back to Canaan to be buried. Joseph, he lived for 147 years. He lived 147 years. So the topic is, who is your Pharaoh? Who is your Pharaoh that you're afraid of? Because a lot of people were afraid of Ramsey, right? A lot of people were afraid of that Pharaoh. They was like, he's the intermediary between God and the people. No, that's sinking sand. That's what we call sinking sand. Who is your Pharaoh? Oh, that husband. I mean, he's a covering that brings your food home and make sure the bills are paid. But then if he tell you to go out and prostitute yourself, are you going to do that? Is that your Pharaoh? If he beats on you, is that your Pharaoh? No. Yahweh, our Yahshua is our Pharaoh. Is that job your Pharaoh? That you would just ignore your wife, ignore your children, don't keep the Sabbath day holy? Even if you're in this Egypt, you can sit down with your family and break bread and tell them about Yahshua and Yahweh. There's no excuse. But I'm tired, Easter. I worked all week. So what? Get up. I get tired too. If you're not getting blessed, if things aren't going right, if you're always destitute, what Pharaoh are you worshiping? And yeah, there's good Pharaoh. There's still good people out here. That's nice. But they're not your God. We have got to get back to the Torah. We have got to get back to our people. We have got to get back to our identity. We have got to get back to the truth. And then when we see it all coming because it's already written. A famine is coming here too. Don't you see it? It's coming. Well, what are we going to do about it, Easter? We can't stop it. Get some seeds. We don't know when it's going to hit. Start stocking up. Start teaching your kids how to garden. Well, we're destitute. Are we going to get our reparations? It doesn't matter. God, He has the final say. He's in control of it. Just get in position. Well, how do we get in position? By serving Him, by acknowledging Him, by going back to the basics, by going back by Torah, by quit celebrating these Christmases and these pagan holidays, by loving one another, by quit destroying one another, by quit aborting our children. The truth will set you free. I love you, Yahweh. I lift your name on high. I'm facing east. I'm coming back to Israel. I'm teaching my children. I'm responsible for my fruit. I'm living by the covenant, the contract agreement, the commandments. God help me. God lead me. God teach me. God guide me. What is she talking about on here? What do we care about these pharaohs? Because that's who we are, these presidents. Those are the pharaohs right now. Those are the ones who have us in bondage. The Congress. Those are the ones who's making the decisions that's swiping the paper right now. The media. The ones that's bringing us down. That's telling us these lies. That's putting these movies with these Caucasian people on them to make our children think everybody that's rulers, that's white, and everything that's black is bad. Because that's what they're doing, and it's a lie. We are honorable people. We are forgiving people. We are resilient people. We are loving people. We are educated people. We are people of favor. We don't hate. We're not trying to get back at anybody. We just want the truth to be told, and we want our land back. We want our names back. We want our language back. Is that so hard? Yeah, they don't like when I preach. I don't know if this is gonna make it on air, because I have a whole different style about me. A whole different style.
Yeah, they're gonna block you out. You're telling you, you're cutting too deep. That's all right. Keep cutting. Keep on cutting. The lions has to stop, right? You know, when we as a people come together, they can't beat us. If we're African. If we come together, they could not have defeated us the first time when they came in Africa. They couldn't have done it unless they divided us. So we're coming together as one now. We're working that right now, and that's our Father doing that. He's the one that's doing that. bringing us together. Here in Africa, in Ghana and the Cape Coast, there is nothing but wealth. The potential of wealth is here. We can come out of that famine in the US, come out of that, come out of Britain. We can come out, come home. The wealth is here, waiting for us. The door is open for us to come home. We're here. I don't want to go back, really. I hope they do shut us down. I don't want to come back. I come back here and stay. I'll stay. I don't want to come back. It's beautiful here. Beautiful. They've lied to us all these years, but it is beautiful here. You need to come. If you haven't been, you need to come, get your passport, get your money, get out of Babylon. So you can see for yourself the beauty and the wealth that is here. I mean, land, everything. You can, I mean, just, I can't even put it in words. It is beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. You need to come home.
Can you imagine a place where our face is on the money, where we're makers and we're builders of everything, where we go down the road and we see all of us, where can you imagine that? We've been over here in this Babylon, we've been over here in this hellhole so long, we can't even imagine living that way. And that's how it was. This is us. That's how it was back in the days. We were running it all.
Yeah, we ruled the world, and it was a peaceful world when we ruled it. It was a better world. When they were living in caves and going at war against each other, we were living in harmony. Oh, well, every once in a while we had a skirmish, but we settled it. And we didn't have borders. They come in here and set up borders, dividing us as a people. When they were still, I mean, living in, we had outhouses, we had buildings. Look at the story of Pharaoh. They were, at that time in Europe, we call them barbarians, because all they did was fight. But we had rule, we had laws. We had a system of government throughout the continent. We had all of that here in place, you see? And then they distorted the way we worship. They say we worship, no, we worship the one creator. There are other powers that we respected in nature, like the rivers and the winds. We respected the powers, but we worship one God, one creator of all things. And they distorted the way we worship. We were at work with our creator in repairing and building the world. They distorted that from us. They changed the laws and the times, and they're destroying the world. The thief came to steal, kill, and destroy, but we came that there would be life. We are here to give life and to bring peace and harmony, because we are our Father's children, and our hearts reveal that, and our actions show that we are His. You see, so we have to come back as a people, and we are the powers. When they talk about the Elohim, we are the powers, because we are co-workers with our Creator in the repairing of the world, and it's going to take us to do it. The whole creation is waiting on us to wake up, and we're waking up. We are waking up. This story about Joseph.
They try to act like, well, if the Black people are running everything, it's going to be chaos. That's what they want us to believe. Y'all can't run nothing. It's going to be chaos. Y'all like crabs in the bucket. You just want to pull each other. That's a lie. When the Spirit of the Lord rains down on us, we are rulers. The Spirit is going to rain down on the inside of us. There's not going to be any chaos. God is not a God of confusion. So get that lie off of you, that you can't be the head, that you can't live peace and harmony, because there's enough for all of us. Rabbi Avshalom, is there anything you want to say about anything about what I said, or the Parsha, or about pharaohs?
You hit it, because Pharaoh is, it's another term. Yeah, we call them the Shiachs, right? Who are intercessories between us and God. He was supposed to be that type of a person, and just like if you look at the nations and the rulers, even in Israel, you had good kings and you had evil kings. But that's to teach us that, we have to choose to follow righteousness. Our leaders, we have to have leaders that are righteous, that are for the people, that are going to show you the right way and protect you. That's what we have to be aware of. So far, we've had the leaders that we're not even at home. So, we haven't had any leaders because we haven't been at home. We've just been under rule of different pharaohs, modern day pharaohs. We call them presidents, right? And they've gave us little things to occupy our minds and thoughts in order so that we would miss the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
But they forgot about our Father.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing escapes his eyes. And everything that has happened has been to bring us to a certain point in life. See? So that's what this parasha is about. You have to look at what happened in the past in order to see what is prophetically going to happen in the future. So all the steps that are being laid out now, right now, throughout the world, is to lead us to a certain point where we will all leave Babylon and come home. It's going to get worse, especially in the US.
Mm-hmm.
It's already worse, than it used to be. It's worse than it was. So, and all that has to build up. But at the same time, the door is open for us to leave. The problem is people have been brainwashed. We've been conditioned and brainwashed through Western Christianity, which is paganism in itself, in its root. If you come here and go to Cape Coast and go to the dungeons and where they had churches, Christian churches on top of slave quarters, they enslaved people. They were not slaves. They were enslaved people and they were prisoners of war and they're over the top of them. And then had the gall to stand up on a balcony, choose the woman he wants, take her in and rapes her. She has to climb these stairs over this chapter one and then go back down. And, and if you stood up for yourself, like it is in corporate America, if you stand up for yourself, they make an example of it. It's the same principle. It's the same thing that's going on. You see? Mm-hmm. Again, we need to come out of this false doctrines they've been teaching us. Our way is a way of government, that is governed by God. Their way is you're looking for a man and calling him God. He said, Jesus is my God. Yes, he is your God, but the Father who created him is my God. He may be a Mashiach, but he is not God. People have to understand that. He never said he was God. That's a part of this Christian paganism where they put the white face on him with the blonde hair on him and said, that's your God, blue eyes. They gave us their God, their white God. And they still have us calling him God today. Not me. People I know call him God. I can't do that. I worship the God that you cannot see and have not seen. He never showed us an image when he presented himself. He said, all you heard was a voice. He didn't want us to be focused on a man. If you create an image on the earth and worship it, that is idolatry. Mm-hmm. So, I'm kind of hard on that. And then they got us worshiping, putting these trees up. And then you go to Jeremiah, he says, they cut down a tree and they stack it up, they deck it with lights and pearls and all this stuff, and that's their God.
Right.
That's their God.
Idolatry. It says it in the Bible. It was already predicted. It was already predicted. And then they try to act like, well, we had Obama as president. Listen, they had set it up. The Congress and the legislators, they're the one who make the law. So he only has so much power too. They still was in control. Don't get it twisted. Okay?
Yeah. And they pollute our body just like the Greeks did. Make us eat pork and shellfish and catfish and scavengers. When we're priests, our bodies are temple. We're not supposed to do that. Vegetables, fresh vegetables, there's certain meats and things that we can eat. But they gave us that junk to this. What they were doing is polluting our temple, our holy temple, our bodies, our temple. So even in the Brit Hadashah said, no, you're not. Your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, and you are paid for with a price. And at the same time, they tell you can eat anything you want. If you are a temple, then why would you eat anything? Mm-hmm. That's that Roman Catholic Christianity garbage that they've been feeding us for 20 generations.
And we know that Yeshua was born in September. Is evidence of that because of when John was born, and we knew when John the Baptist was born because his father was at a convention and he had to leave when John was conceived. And so, what's the holiest for the Jews? What's the holiest month of the year? September. Our New Year has already started. That's why they've always been a step ahead of us, because we didn't know who we were. I didn't either. But we're awake now. January 1st isn't the new year. The new year has already started. It's already begun. We're ahead of the game already. If you've been following us, if you've been with us, and if you haven't, it's time to wake up.
Wake up.
And so, because the people won't wake up and stop buying all these goods for the Christmas holiday, guess what? They're sitting out in the water right now. They can't even get it off fast enough because of the pandemic. No, because of the plagues that are hitting. And when that Dow Jones crash, you're gonna see a whole different United States. When that stock market crash, and it's inevitable, it's going to at some point. It's gonna be they're not gonna want us here anymore. We're not gonna be any good. They're gonna need to get us. Send them back home because we need all the money and the food we can get, and they're eating up everything. Send them back over there.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it wasn't harsh, but if it ain't tight, it ain't right. And so it was left for the hostess of the mostest, Easter, to go ahead. And I pray that you learn something today. I pray that you go back and you look these things up, which I had said. I pray that you know who you are, your identity. I pray that you teach your children. I pray that you wake up and know your identity. I pray that you get in alignment of the priests and priestess you should be. I pray that you just do the best that you can. I pray healing over your household. I pray the Passover over your household. I pray prosperity over your household. I pray healing from everybody who's on here right now, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. I pray protection over our rabbi and his family as they're out there in Africa, in our native land. I pray that love is in everybody's heart. We love everybody. This is not to attack any race. This is about telling the truth. And they said, well, what difference does it make? Because God makes a difference. His truth is the freedom. Knowing who you are, lining up who you're supposed to be, preaching his word. That's all you really have to offer him. He don't need you for anything, because the word is going to get out with me, without me, or anybody else. It's on the land. The truth is on the land. The truth is on the United States. Hi, how are you doing, my brother?
Hi, thank you.
May Yahweh continue to bless you, sir. I pray to see you next year. Did you want to say anything to the people?
Please pardon me.
What did he say, peace?
Hello.
Yeah.
He said, please pardon
He
me.
said, please pardon me.
Oh,
Say it
please
again, what
pardon
you-
me.
Please pardon me. Hello.
God bless you. We love you.
I love you too.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I'm going to be going there next year, God willing, that I'll be traveling with you all next year, because that's on my bucket list. And so we pray that you share. Hopefully this makes it on the air. We pray that you share our episode. Send me your email addresses. You have any questions? And if you even want a challenge, feel free to come on here, and you have the right to speak. We welcome you. And we can take you to the books. We can take you to history. We welcome you to come on. We welcome your comments at the bottom. And I know sometimes there's bad comments. I don't erase you. I don't kick you out the room. As long as you're not belligerent and calling people names, we welcome you. We love you. We open our arms to you. If Rabbi Avshalom, if you can go ahead and do the final prayer before we go ahead and close, please.
Yelaka Adonai Reis Meraka. Ya Yahoy Fanala Gawibaneka. Yisa Yahuwah Fakala Kawe Samaka Shalom. Where's some of Israel of the Ham? May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord be gracious unto you and smile upon you, cause his face to shine upon you. May he grant you his peace. They shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Shalom, shalom, shalom alechem. Amen.
Shalom. We love you, and we'll see you next week.